I think it's very important to understand that really Islam is not a religion, it's a way of life. In the Arabic we call it deen, which means life transaction. It means a debt to someone who you owe a debt to, and the debt that you owe is to Allah because He's given you life and you have to invest in it and make the best of it. And so the practices of Islam are to do the prayer 5 times a day, the obligatory prayer, to bear witness, first of all, that there is no God except for Allah, there's only one God, and that Muhammad is the messenger of God, to do the prayer, to fast the month of Ramadan, to pay the zakat, which is a tax on surplus wealth. If you've saved up money and you haven't used it for a year, then you give 1/40 of it to feed the poor people. And if you can, you go on the pilgrimage to Mecca. And that's a wonderful experience, because there, the things that you do trace back to the Prophet Abraham, or in Arabic as we say, Ibrahim. And all the rites of the pilgrimage trace back to his time there and his leaving his wife there, Hagar, with their young son Ismail. And so there's a long history there that we connect to. And it's very interesting because Ibrahim had 2 sons. He had Ismail and he had Ishaq. And from Ismail is descended the Prophet Muhammad, and from Ishaq are descended all the prophets after Ibrahim, including Moses and Jesus. And I think this is the thing to bear in mind, that our life in this world is very short. When you're young, when you're 10, when you're 11, you think, oh, I've got such a long, long life ahead of me. But it goes very quickly. I can remember I was 10 like it was yesterday. And you realize as you get older that you're on a journey. It began before you came into this world, and it will continue after you leave this world. When I was 10, the world was very different then. I was living in the middle of the bush in Africa. We had no electricity, no running water, no internet, no television, no iPads, no iPhones, no mobile phones. And so we spent much more time with each other. And as a young child, because we had many visitors to our house, I used to sit and listen to the grown-ups talking. And I would look at them and I'd think, oh, I'd like to be like that person. I don't want to be like that person. This really has shaped the way that I've lived my life as I've grown up. And when my relatives used to ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I always used to say, I want to be wise. And they'd say, what do you mean you want to be wise? What do you want to do? What job do you want to do? And I said, no, that's what I want to be wise. And it didn't make much sense to them. But I've always looked for people of knowledge. And so in the end, I accepted Islam. One of the things I was never told at school was where I was coming from and where I was going. And I used to think about this more than who am I. I used to say where I come from and where am I going? Why am I here? If the whole universe wasn't here, what would be here? You know, I'd look at the stars at night and I'd say, if all of this wasn't here, what would be here? And then when I had access to the Quran, there I found the answer. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Surely we come from Allah, and surely to Allah we are returning. This is the nature of our journey. Remember that it's sometimes difficult to be a human being. It's sometimes difficult to be alive. It's sometimes difficult to deal with situations that you're in. But if you can act with mercy, and if you can act with forbearance, and if you can act with kindness, then Allah will make a way for you.